Yes.
We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome to the May 7th, 2018 meeting for the Shawnee County Board of Commissioners. My name is Kevin Cook. I serve as the chair of the commission. Joining me today is Commissioner Shelley Bueller. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Commissioner Bob Archer. Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam Clerk, if we could start with our first item.
First on proclamations, presentations. Number one, Grace Med First Quarter 2018 Report. Alice Weingartner, Director of Community Development.
Good morning, Commissioners. Alice Weingartner, Grace Med Health Clinic. I first will start by telling you I'm feeling a lot of pressure from some in the crowd back there to keep it short. So just as an FYI, they're watching you. Attached, you will find the first quarter report for Grace Med. We did see just over 1,000 unduplicated patients for that first quarter. That does correlate into more than 3,000 visits through those patients. So we see patients multiple times through that quarter. So we continue to work on increasing our access to care. One of the things I wanted to highlight today are just a couple of the initiatives and how they're continuing to grow, and then to share some of the pictures of the interior work that's taking place in the former Dillon's building, so you can kind of see the progress that's being made there as well. One of our biggest programs is our oral health outreach program. That program, we continue to add schools. This coming school year, the 2018-2019 school year, we'll be adding a couple more schools to that program as well. So we'll continue to see the numbers of students that we reach for those oral health outreach services grow. Some of our forms are being put into electronic format to help make it easier for the parents to do that. Since so many schools are moving to online enrollment now, we wanted to make sure those forms were there and that they're not getting lost in the backpacks that come home. One of the other initiatives that we're in the early stages of developing is really connecting with some of the church leaders in the community. As you know, part of Grace Med's mission is to help connect folks spiritually, because that does have a positive impact on your physical and emotional health. And so our part-time pastor is meeting with various clergy members in the community, and then if we have individuals who want to make that connection, he can help connect them to those churches as well that are close to where they live. We anticipate the Capital Family Clinic to be relocating probably sometime late July by mid-August. With that, one of the reasons we moved ahead with the construction while we still continue to work on our capital campaign is because we do have a number of providers starting this summer. We have several dentists who will be joining us and starting. We have a couple medical providers, one specifically a pediatrician who will be joining us. So we want to make sure that we're not having to move multiple times, and so that's why we wanted to get that space open and ready. So again, I thought I would just share a few pictures. It's been really exciting to see the progress take place. Some of you were there when the grocery store shelves and the cash register lanes were still there. So back in January is when the work really started. We found a number of people who were willing to come in and take the grocery store shelves. Someone even came in and took the big walk-in refrigerator. Apparently those are very useful out on farm properties for housing cattle as they're trying to get ready to go to feed. So as a result of the merchandise that was taken out, or the equipment that was taken out, we did raise a couple $1,000s that went to help towards the project fund as well. Framing, well, first they had to go in and cut the drain lines, so they were doing that in March. You can see just a lot of work was being done. The whole ceiling was removed, and then at the end of March, some of the framing started to go up. Exteriorly, they've been cutting the windows. I don't have any of the current pictures, but if anybody's driven by recently, you can see those exterior windows are in. And so there's a lot of light that will be coming into that building. Bathroom plumbing done. At this point, they've even gone so far as to start painting, mudding, taping, and painting certain sections. And so again, it's progressing very quickly. As we look at this building, we'll be going from about a 9,000 square foot building to a 23,000 square foot building. As we've talked, we'll have dental, vision, behavioral health, and eventually a pharmacy as those services really start to ramp up. And we're really excited to be part of that Tennessee Town revitalization. They're doing a lot of work with their SORT grant, and so we're glad to be part of that work that's taking place and really help to invigorate the community there. Just the space, we'll have those 25 exam rooms, 14 dental operatories, space for an eye doctor. We'll have 3 behavioral health suites. We do already have a behavioral health consultant on staff, and we'll continue to look to add to that staffing as well. And then we anticipate 10,000 unduplicated patients a year with this project. So grant-wise, where we are, these numbers have been updated just a little bit since this presentation was put together, and we're at about $440,000 in remaining funds still needed. With that, that helps us reach our Maybe Challenge grant. And so we still feel very confident that we'll meet that number by October. That's our target date. And any funds over those amounts will be used to help with the school-based clinic that we plan to partner with Topeka 501 for. So, as always, here's ways that you can give and how you can reach out to me if you have questions. We're starting to offer some opportunities for those folks who are interested in giving to do some small tours of the building so that they can see where their contributions will be going. So we welcome those opportunities at any time. And if you have any questions, I would be glad to answer them.
Commissioner Mueller, anything?
I don't have any questions. A lot of progress, though.
A lot of progress.
Very good.
Yeah, it's actually very nice to have an indoor project that you're having to work on versus a new build. I think that
Right.
makes a big difference. So the weather hasn't impacted us.
Good.
Yeah, yeah.
Commissioner Archer, anything? No. I drive by daily, and so seeing the work that's being done, the windows being cut, the excavation work, all the work, I mean, I know there's just a lot of excitement seeing it. We're ready for it to be open.
Yeah. We've been doing our weekly Facebook updates, too, and so folks that like the Grace Med Facebook page get to see some of these pictures every week, and it's always fun to see staff, because they're just like on it as soon as it's posted, and they're very excited about the move. So we're starting that cleaning and sorting process now, so.
Great.
Yep, but we'll keep you posted on when the opening will be, and we'll go from there.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item 3, consent agenda.
There are 4 items on the consent agenda. Are there any questions?
Move to approve.
A second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk, number 1, consider all voucher payments.
We have the vouchers totaling $2,128,527.30. We have holding accounts with the state of Kansas, $587,431.39. Majority of payroll makes up $529,706.83. We also have $239,623.39 that is a pass-through payment to Champion Builders for the East Topeka Learning Center. Also, of note on the equipment fund, we have $168,593, which is a rather large amount. It's for a chip spreader for Public Works, so that's why that is substantial. I have no questions. I'll move approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller,
Second.
second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook for approval, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item A3, consider setting a public hearing date of June 4th regarding the proposed vacation of attractive land platted at Northwest 84th Street in Northern Heights subdivision. Commissioners, this is a commission-requested vacation, so there was no petition. We will send notifications out to the adjoining property owners as soon as the hearing date is set.
And Commissioners, just for the information, this has gone through the counselor's office. This and the next item are both parcels that they had been set aside for easements for a roadway, and Public Works has determined that there's not a need for that roadway, and so the county would be relinquishing their easements. But this is our public notification process, And so it would be my motion to set the hearing date for June 4th for that item.
A second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook and second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item A4, consider setting a public hearing date of June 4th regarding the proposed vacation of attractive land platted at Monterey Drive, as Monterey Drive in Rochester Heights subdivision. And the same thing applies here, as he said. So my office will send the notifications out and all necessary things as soon as the hearing date is set.
Again, I'll make a motion to set the hearing date for June the 4th.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item B, Information Technology. Number 1, consider approval of request to reclassify the position of Assistant Network Administrator from range 14, hourly wage starting at $19.30, to range 16, hourly range starting at $21.86, to recruit an appropriate candidate for this position.
Good morning, Commissioners. Pat O'Blander with the Information Technology Department. This position, as described, is we're on the reading of the memo was to recruit an appropriate candidate for this position. There's a couple of components here. We're having difficulty recruiting, but importantly, we're having trouble retaining in this position. The Assistant Network Administrator position is a highly technical position, which also has a supervisory component to it. So it requires somebody that has technical skills, diplomacy skills, management skills, etc. A lot of things that we're looking for in a candidate for this position. We have had a lot of interviews with a lot of different people for this position. A lot of good people have come in with some really good qualifications, but not the ones that we're looking for exactly. So that's the recruitment part. The retention part, we've had this position open for quite a few years, and 3 people have been hired for the position, really good people that fit all of the criteria that we were looking for the placement, but we were only able to hold on to them for about a year per person before they would move on to better opportunities. So difficulty attracting, difficulty retaining. We also have a supervisory component that we want to ensure that when we do get somebody landed for this position, that we're able to keep them in the position at a level commensurate with their experience and the requirements that we have for the position and their abilities, so that we don't create a farm position for everybody else to poach from. Mm-hmm. So what we'd like to do is move this position from range 14 to range 16 on the salary schedule. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions regarding this request?
Move to approve.
A second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks.
Our next item.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
Anybody who is a department head or member of the public that wishes to address the commission, this is your opportunity.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kellen Seitz, Spectre Venue Management, the Kansas Expo Center. We finished up a great weekend of events at the Expo Center with Kids Fest. It was a huge hit. Myself and our family were out there enjoying the inflatables and eating as much cotton candy as our 5-year-old could handle. This week is a very exciting week for the Expo Center. We have 2 event announcements coming up this week. So tomorrow we will announce a very exciting family show. And then Thursday we will announce a concert. So I'll let your minds race wild on what those are until tomorrow and Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. No real, tragic news or anything like that, but, or I shouldn't even use that word, but we're just getting ready to celebrate our 18th annual Staff Appreciation Day, where our administrative staff, out of their own pocket, we come in on all shifts, all hours, to provide food, and a genuine thank you and sincere thank you to all of our staff that work at the Department of Corrections. A lot of what Pat talked about today has resonated through the Department of Corrections of being able to retain and hire as well. But this is the opportunity. I want to let people know that you'll see tents outside behind the back of the Department of Corrections. This is not taxpayer money. This is money that comes out of my own pocket to be able to fund this along with other supervisory staff. So I just want to let you know that it'll be this Thursday. We'll be there all day Thursday and all day Friday into the early hours, 4 o'clock in the morning. So I just wanted to let you know.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Any other department heads or members of the public?
Morning, County Commissioners. My name is Joseph Ledbetter, and I'm one of the members of the Parks and Rec Advisory Council that you have. We have several members here from the advisory today. There would have been more if we hadn't had to give such short notice. I want to give you just a brief outline of why I'm here. We have an opportunity as a county government to acquire an absolutely pristine facility in the southwest part of this county that is underserved by Parks and Rec. We've done a report, you've received it. There's been motions asking the county and director to at least talk to the Girl Scouts about it. I don't know that chain of communication because I've not been involved, although I'd like to be involved. And I certainly have no problem volunteering my time to help negotiate wherever this might go. I'm not going to say it can happen. I'm going to say it will happen if we have determination and if we have open minds about serving an underserved population and about doing something that's a little different and unique for Parks and Recreation. A couple weeks ago, I brought you a graph that talks about the gross domestic product of this county actually declining 6% over a 12-year period of time from 2004 on. It is briefly starting to uptick. I think we've got changes in leadership. We've got changes in people's thinking. Most of all, we've got different volunteers that want to see this community move forward instead of being told no, instead of being told shut up, go to the back of the room, your opinion doesn't matter. Those things have changed. What concerns me is I'm still looking at a lack of vision. And what I want to commend you, the county councilors or county commissioners, about is that you did recognize the need of Parks and Rec to be well-maintained, and you've taken some steps towards that. You've heard our lobbying efforts as the advisory council, and we appreciate that. So I don't want to take away from any of that. It's absolutely needed, it's necessary, and it's got to be done. We know that Parks and Rec has about an 86% approval rating of wanting it to be funded. I didn't say that's perfect about how it's being operated, but that's the public wants of Parks and Rec in this community. We also know that factually, especially younger people, but actually it crosses all ages. People want outdoor activities, they want Parks and Rec, they want the walking trails, they want decent playground equipment in the neighborhood parks, and they want some nature spaces. In fact, that's been the #1 request in the master study, that we get more natural spaces in Shawnee County for the people. So land, let's talk about land. Land is finite. Land doesn't keep growing, okay? When you come across a large tract of land, especially in an urban county, you may miss an opportunity that you may not see for another Halley's Comet. I talk about historic perspective in the report that you got, and the only reason for that is to just, not for nostalgia, because I was never a Girl Scout, and I didn't even know where this camp was 3 months ago. But other people just wanted you to know the historic value of this camp, that it's been well-maintained, that it's been well-used. Maybe not as used as much as it should have, maybe it wasn't marketed right. Maybe the business plan didn't work for what they were doing or for changing times. I'm not proposing it be run as a Girl Scout camp. I'm proposing it to be run as a park. So this quote that I want to share with you is about 3,000 years old, and it's one that impressed me a number of years ago when I was thinking about why this city and this county just didn't seem to grow. And what it says in Proverbs 29:19, where there is no vision, the people perish. Stagnate. Don't move forward. What I look at when I see success in business models, when I see success in public politics, when I see success in leadership, I see people that are flexible, people that are nimble, people that are able to adapt to great change and take advantage of great opportunities. That is an underlying hallmark of success. When you look at businesses that grow and become very successful, when you see more of a military background, where I've studied a lot, I just did it on my own from a kid on up, great generals were always flexible. Great generals were able to, as Sun Tzu put it, seize the victory through indirect methods. And what that means, in my interpretation of that great Chinese general, is he was always looking for the opportunity to advance his organization, advance his army, and be greatly victorious over the opposition. Now, we're not facing opposition of an enemy army, okay? What I'm trying to do is tell you about a mindset that I wish I saw more of in government sometimes. And I'm actually appealing to you to have that today. I'm going to talk about some of the arguments I've heard, because I was not here. I've heard that we're going to cannibalize Lake Shawnee if we buy this asset in southwest part of the county that is underserved. Let me tell you, we have cars, we have a hard surface road out there. There are people from all parts of this county that can use it. But I will tell you, the people in that part of the county, it's actually the same distance from Lake Shawnee to Lawrence. So think about that. They don't use Lake Shawnee that much. Now, they might use Gage Park because it's a little closer. But it would be nice for all parts of this county, since it is called Shawnee County Parks and Rec, to be served. Not just one part of the county or one part of a system. Now, I like Lake Shawnee. I learned to canoe out there as a kid, done a lot of swimming out there. I was part of the rowing team out there years ago. It's a beautiful lake. And I grew up fairly close to there in public housing. My mom would take us out there and she'd read books while we ran and played and got our exercise. But the point is, Lake Shawnee is just one part of this county. Gage Park is just one part of this county. Historic as it is, nostalgic as it is, it's just one part of the county. The next thing I heard about was it's too far out. And I'm going, okay, where have I heard that argument before? Since I like history. I was thinking about Seward's Folly, the Alaska Purchase. It was just too remote, too far out. For 2 cents an acre, we got Alaska from the Russians in 1867. Now, what happened since? It's only gone up in value. I would conservatively, since I like Antiques Roadshow, I would place a conservative value of an auction of Alaska for anywhere from $10 to $12 trillion, with all its oil, its minerals, its gold, its tourism, its fishing rights, which are phenomenal. I mean, there's a chain of islands that we bought with it that goes from, Alaska all the way across to Asia in a 1,400-mile arc. I'm not talking about buying that today. I'm talking about something similarly situated, a valuable piece of property that can probably be bought for under the land appraisal values if we negotiate, if we start talking to the Girl Scouts, and I hope it's not too late. But I don't think it's ever too late. I mean, we're still negotiating NAFTA. People are saying that's too late. Well, it's still going on. I think we can negotiate properly with these people And we certainly have money in reserves, and we certainly have other ways of raising money. We have JADA. We have other things that can be activated for the greater good of Shawnee County and the Parks and Rec system. Another concern I had was it costs too much to operate. We keep looking at the Girl Scout model, and I'm not looking at a Girl Scout model. I'm not running a Girl Scout camp. I'm not proposing a Girl Scout camp. Girl Scouts have some fairly high expectations. That's fine. I never raised girls, okay? I raised boys. When I went out as a Boy Scout, we cooked our own food, we did our own thing, and if we didn't like what we cooked, we starved. So, I mean, that was just kind of the attitude. But it was good prep for the Marines, but I'm not suggesting that that's the kind of camp they had out there. They didn't. But what I am suggesting to you is that nature does not cost that much to maintain. Once you acquire it, you have, for instance, it's a 35 to 40 acre meadow on top of a plateau that's got a pristine view. So how do you maintain a meadow? Well, let's just look at my farming methods. I'm not a farmer, but I know how to run one because I grew up on one part of my years, a few years. What I do with the meadow to preserve it is I have a local farmer come in and take the hay off of it, and then I get shares. And if I want to sell those, I sell them. Well, you can do the same thing out there. You don't have to mow a meadow. And I'm not quite sure that Parks and Rec gets what I'm even talking about, but since I've owned farmland, I think that's the best way to do it. It doesn't cost money to maintain a pond. Unless it breaks, what maintenance is there in a pond? And yet people can fish there. And John Knight told me that the fish are free from the state. I think that's what he said to me. So you have a fishing opportunity. You have a 5-acre pond, lake out there. In that part of the county, there's no public fishing rights. You've got to go to Lake Shawnee. There is some public access up on the river. It's quite a distance. So why not let people in that part of the county have some fishing? The next thing I want to point out is there is support for this acquisition to help maintain it. I believe there is a large group of volunteers, the same way we got them over the years at Ward Mead, that will help maintain this camp. I believe there are people, the Girl Scouts told me, one of the local groups, not the large group that owns the camp, but one of the local groups that represents about 2,000 girls, said they saw no problem with fundraising about $40,000 the first year to help you operate it. Now, I'm not aware that we're having any discussions with these people other than me. We've been told we're talking to the Parks and Rec Foundation. Okay, we have a group here that has been very active, yet we've had no contact with the Parks and Rec Foundation. I've been asking for 6 months for information about the Parks and Rec Foundation. I'm told they meet quarterly. Well, that's not probably soon enough to get involved in these negotiations. I'm asking questions, and I'm trying to get answers. So what I said to some of our members, maybe what Parks and Rec needs down the road, and we can start it with this camp, but I see no reason to not promulgate it, is maybe we need a Friends of Shawnee County Parks and Rec, similar to what they have with Friends of the Zoo, which has been very successful. And I'm okay with that model, and I'm okay with getting people activated in the public to actually accomplish things and start turning this ship around, because I believe Parks and Rec is so valuable and so needed for our health and for the health of the kids in this community and for our economic development that I believe it's time to talk about it. Talk about a different method. In other words, indirect methods, flexible methods, methods that challenge leadership to think differently and to be nimble and smart and swift to respond, and not let an opportunity just disappear because maybe there's not real knowledge about nature. Maybe there's not real knowledge about the value of the horse facility out there that I believe could be run by a concessionaire. I don't think it would even cost us money if it's done properly. Put it out for bids. There's a lot of horse people in northeast Kansas, and I actually believe there's some of them that would probably be happy to stable horses out there and rent them, let people ride them, because there are horse trails out there, there are nature trails out there. Now, in doing this report, it took me about 3 months. I apologize it took extra time. I did as a volunteer. Terry Roberts helped put it together with me. One of the things that I addressed was that I don't believe in operating as a Girl Scout camp, because that's not why we would acquire it for Parks and Rec. We would acquire it, first and foremost, because it's in an area that's underserved. Secondly, because it provides something very unique called nature, which we don't have a lot of in our Parks and Rec system. Lake Shawnee used to be a lot more natural. It's very built up. I am fine with that. That's what happens when you have housing subdivisions adjoin a very beautiful park. It's going to happen that way. It's going to get built up. But there are areas that need to be left pristine and natural for the people to be greatly happy. I think that if we were to acquire this, and I mean for the right price, I actually believe if we can make this happen, this will put Shawnee County Parks and Rec on the map. And I'm talking about as a premier organization that actually can provide a lot of activities to the people here, not just nature, not just fishing, horseback riding, and some things that would not cost this county government a lot of money. And then as time goes on, we can look at the other facilities out there, see if we can come up with a business model that makes sense. And at the end of the day, look, folks, a few years down the road, you don't like it, sell it. You'll probably make money. But right now, I am here just simply as one of the people, one of the folks of this advisory that voted 9-1 to ask this county to am I? Yes, I am. I'm running a PowerPoint, sorry. I knew I was distracting people. So one of the things that I'm simply asking is to have an openness about this. Realize that these opportunities are not going to be there 10 years from now. I talked to you the other day about being on the right side of history. I know I'm not trying to wear that out, but this is a historic opportunity. And if you don't at least negotiate and engage, you'll never know what you could have done. And that would be tragic. That'd be as tragic as not building the Panama Canal. That'd be as tragic as Eisenhower not building the interstates. That'd be as tragic as the moon program not going forward because somebody just said, I don't know how to do it, it's hard, I can't handle it, I don't know how to think about it. Just have vision. If you have vision, you've got people in this room that will help you make this succeed. I believe it can happen. And I believe it will happen if we just have open minds and negotiate. Thank you.
Any other administrative communications, members of the public, or anybody else wishes to address?
Carol Marple. It's always hard to follow Joe because he does really well. I just want to kind of echo what Joe said in a lot of ways, not as well. But I sit at meetings and I hear about quality of life, and we want this in our county, and we're not a healthy county. This would be one way to help our county grow. And it's been, the evidence is there. The southwest quadrant of the county is underserved. The evidence is there. We are not healthy. I can't think of a better way to get healthy than to go out and walk the trails, fish, be outside, let kids play on playgrounds. The splash park is there. You know, outside experience. My kids love to be outside, and that's what we need. We've talked about business plans, and that's one tool in a toolbox. I will say that I have written business plans for 43 years. We farm. And I'll tell you, by the time I get done with my business plan, it's wrong. There is no business that changes faster than farming. We have no control over the weather, prices, anything. But a business plan is good, but Shawnee County is not a for-profit business. Our taxpayers have already paid in money. They want to have quality of life. And I think that one thing Joe did not bring up is that in negotiations, there would be absolutely nothing wrong, in my opinion, and other people's opinions, to negotiate and try to get an option on it. If we have an option on the park, on Camp Daisy, we can always we would have time to come up with business plans. And it just, to me, as a farmer, as a business person, you get one opportunity. The opportunity is there. You either take it and jump on it, or I'll tell you, somebody else is going to. And this is so important to our county. There are so many people that associate with Camp Daisy. And yes, it was a Girl Scout camp, but it can be for the whole public. And I really, we need to look at this. Thank you.
Any other members of the public or department heads?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Dick Ketterman, and I too am up here as one of the 9 people that voted for us to look into this. I'm sure everybody in this room has heard the old metaphor about if you don't ask, you won't know the answer. And I guess the thing I'd like to express is, would you be able to have, I presume legal, at least get in touch with the Girl Scouts, find out how quickly they want something to happen. That's going to be the most important thing. If they want to sell that thing this week, we know that that would be impossible for y'all to pull off. But at least let's make contact with them and find out if they are willing to negotiate on something like this. I don't know what they're asking for it, but I would never pay to the penny what they're asking for it. And that's all I'd like to see, is know that there is at least some communication going on between the county and the Girl Scouts. As Joe said, at least on the committee, there was a very positive feeling about trying to acquire this thing. I can think of a million things, if I was a private owner, of what I could do with that thing and make a profit. Now, obviously, we're not in that business, but I'm sorry we can't come to you right now with a business plan. But as Ms. Marple said, if we had some time to negotiate and do that stuff, then we come up with a business plan. I know that the gentleman that spoke to you last week sometime, I think it was maybe on Monday, about the Expo Center, and gave you a cost on what it would take to redo whatever it is they're doing over there. But he couldn't guarantee that it wouldn't go over that. All I can think of is the state building, and what that was supposed to cost when it started and what it ended up with. So that in itself is kind of scary, that we've permitted something like that to go on without saying, okay, it's going to have to be this way, and make these people get in under what they're saying they're going to do. What can it hurt at least to go to the Girl Scouts and find out what they would consider? You're not taking much time to do that, and if it's something, I'd hate like heck for the county to pass up on something that could have been a real benefit to the county itself. So that's all I'd ask you to consider.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else?
Good morning. I never had a chance to go out there as a child. Didn't even know it existed.
Oh, Teresa, can you say your name for the record, please?
I'm sorry?
Say your name for the record, please.
Oh, Teresa Miller, I'm sorry. To me, it's an opportunity for our generations to come to learn things. I know it sounds similar to Lake Shawnee and some of the other things you can do other places, but there's one thing people are leaving out, is tradition. Teaching our children the basics of things that they won't learn by walking trails and things like that. There can be classes out there to teach them different things that they might not learn at home, because not every child gets that opportunity for their parents to teach them things. I wished I would have had that. The other thing I'm hoping that if we sit down and we had a board that run this, and we would have funding coming back in to support running this. I know we have a lot of volunteers. It's overwhelming of what we hear about the volunteerism on this. I think it's a win-win situation, and I know it's a lot of money to ask for, but they're willing to work and bring that down. But we don't want to lose traditions anymore. We've lost enough tradition. And I hate to see more go, because this generation nowadays, it's all about walking around using our thumbs. We got to get away from that. We need to start teaching our children again what life really is. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other department heads or members of the public? Commissioner Bueller?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Commissioner Archer?
No.
Commissioner Archer commented last Thursday that typically he doesn't respond to administrative communications, but felt that a need, I think you said that there had not been a business case presented yet for Camp Daisy. After hearing now from several individuals, I'm going to make a comment that when Camp Daisy first came up, the Parks and Recreation Department met with Camp Daisy to explore that option. We explored whether or not that would be feasible for us to, and quite frankly, it came back as a recommendation not to. The amount that Camp Daisy was asking was far beyond what the county would be able to financially afford. And there were specific conditions placed on that sale. And that was the reason why there was not a recommendation to proceed. Conditions can change. If a business case can be made from the Parks and Rec, it would be brought back before the County Commission for consideration. And that's where public business is done, is before the public. We would have a thorough discussion in public as to whether or not we would pursue that or not. But I can also tell you that while Camp Daisy has a lot of amazing attributes, there are also considerations that we have to make. Every year, John Knight presents a budget that is more than any other department, and that's based on the overwhelming needs of Parks and Recreation. We can't always afford everything that Park and Recreation needs. In fact, just with a $6 million reserve, there was a request made from the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, of which Joe and Teresa and Richard all serve on. And the request was made for $7 million, $1 million in excess of what we had, for deferred maintenance. And so as a county commissioner, it's hard for us to embark upon a new endeavor that we don't know how much will cost us when we can't even cover the cost of our present endeavors. I know that some received an email from one board member imploring us to sell off parks in our county that don't make financial sense and use that money. I don't think that's a good move either. Again, if we come to a point where business cases are presented, that would be discussed here. We're open to the options, but I think a business case has to be presented as to why the county would benefit from purchasing this, not just from the emotional feel-good, but as a responsibility to our taxpayers. And this would be the same methodology we would employ if we were looking at acquiring sports facilities or building a rock chalk facility and those discussions have been presented as well. Again, a business case model has to be presented as to why this makes sense for the county. Don't have anything additional? Our next item. Typically, we don't, but Mr. Ledbetter, if you kind of keep it brief, you had 15 minutes before.
Yeah. In response to having this done in public, I'd like a public hearing set up by the commissioners immediately, as soon as possible, to have a discussion. I do like the idea of discussing it in public and getting the public involved. And let's find out if there is public support. So I'm good with that. And I did not send that email, but I can actually think of one parcel that makes no sense for Shawnee County to own, and that's the parcel that is cut off by a piece of drive going to 37th Street from Topeka Boulevard. There's about 2 acres that looks like it could be commercially developed. I hardly ever see anybody using it, and there's no playground equipment in it. So I did not send that email, but I have thought that for years, even back when the city owned it. It was part of an old highway park system that went to 75 Highway. I'm not saying there's others, but anyway, thank you.
Our next item.
Item 6, executive sessions.
There is not a need for an executive session today. We are adjourned.